Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League of Europe YouTube channel for round number 10 of Season 6 of Division 3. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Commenters. I'll be taking you through proceedings on a Saturday evening, as per usual, and joining me in the commentary box for another race this season, of course, is Killer Blue, otherwise known as Jake. Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing tremendously well, thank you. Very much looking forward to this one because it's a brand new track. We're at Portugal, we've never had a League of Europe race here. I know other leagues have already got this one out of the way, they jumped straight in there, but our first time there tonight. It's our first league race at a new track since August 2020, all of, 14 months ago when we first raced at Zandvoort, so really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Looks like it's going to be a really, really great one. And like you say, Portimao, new to this game as of, well, just over a month ago now. So some of these drivers have had some time with this track at least in the past month. However, the problem is as well that for some people, this could be the first time they're racing at this track, couldn't it? And to be fair, this track is not as easy as it may look.
It's not an easy track at all to jump in blind with no practice, and if anyone is doing that, I feel very, very sorry for them because they are in for a bit of a roller coaster, literally and metaphorically, of course, because most of that difficulty comes from the tremendous elevation changes there are at the Algarve. So there's one corner in particular, which I'm sure we'll talk about all evening, which is turn 8, which is going to catch people out galore. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a couple of spinners there on their outlaps in qualifying. It is just the nastiest corner you would ever hope to come across on the game. It's off camber, it's uphill, it's just a nightmare, and every corner has its own challenges. So I think we're going to see a few drivers come unstuck all the way through proceedings this evening.
Yeah, definitely. There's, like you say, so many corners around this track that can catch a lot of people out as well. And this is probably one of the tracks on this game where elevation change really does play a part in the track model itself. I mean, to be fair to Codemasters, this track has been modelled very well, and a lot of the elevation change in this track can play a big part in this race as well. So, going to be an interesting one looking into proceedings tonight. Let's have a quick look through the Drivers' Championship just before we get into round 10 of the season. And it is Forza Brendan that does still lead the way. However, his run of podiums, which was 5 in a row up until Budapest, came to an end in quite dramatic style last time out for him in Budapest. He spun out of contention, he had a safety car midway through the race. He was leading up until that point, and the safety car kind of put pay to his chances of winning that race. The winner of that race eventually was Carwin Robb, who had a horror show last time out, the round before that in Austria. He picks up a win to bounce back, and he is right back in the title fight. I believe he's 24 points off the championship lead, so he's within a race win of Forza Brendan. 2 points further behind Carwin Robb is Tinkan. Tinkan did miss the race last time out, but he's still right in the championship run. And then there is a big gap back to his teammate of Luco 5 in 4th in the championship. The rest of the top 10 is made up by Brent, J. Cole, Rikurik, Funky Chicken, Calvin and Chill, who rounds off the top 10. And it's fair to say that for Forza Brendan, last week could have been massive for his championship. It ended up being the complete opposite, and it's turned from what was looking like a 2-horse race back into a 3-horse race.
It could have completely swung in his favour. He had that race he had one hand on the trophy for that race about midway through before the safety car came out. Carwin Robb, where did he start? He started 13th, 14th that race, and it was looking like it just opened up for Brendan, and then, as you say, it completely turned on its head. He had that flashpoint with Tim Mats and ended up recovering only to pick up 1 point when 25 had seemed pretty certain. And yet Carwin Robb has really thrown himself in there. 3 wins in his last 5, a second place to boot along with a DNF at Austria, but he's very much in form. And I would say he's the informed driver, not just in D3, but in the whole of League of Europe right now. He looks, barring that Austria race, he looks pretty unstoppable right now. Everything, qualifying and race, he just seems to have the wins in his favour, so to speak. So I think he could make further inroads on Brendan, because you mentioned before we came on air that Brendan, he has the pace, but he's not particularly enjoying this track. I think he said that he's having a few problems in keeping the car on track for, 33 laps.
Yeah, He is having a few problems. I think he'll freely admit that as well. It's not been the smoothest of weeks for Brendan, and he really needs a good race here to kind of build his momentum back, build his confidence back after what was a disastrous round in Budapest by his standards as well. Loading in then to Portimao, we've got 19 drivers here tonight. We do have one driver missing, unfortunately, but a near full grid, which is great to see again. And we've spoken a little bit about the challenges of this track. Let's speak a little bit more about it. Qualifying around this track, it's a good track to qualify around. It is definitely a fun track in that one lap kind of in the one lap kind of format. Is a really nice track to drive around. However, around this track, one small minute mistake and it could be
Oh,
massive. And just to make sure that that could be even more massive, it looks like we've got a wet qualifying.
I was ready to say this track, even with the way it generates mistakes, is quite forgiving in terms of speed. There's a lot of lines you can take through the corners, and that makes it easier to recover time or easier to not lose time if you're having a scrappy lap. But that's gone completely out the window because, as you said, we've got a full wet qualifying, and this is now going to be. I doubt many drivers have done any kind of wet practice, so this is going to be an absolutely fascinating session. And I wonder if anyone is going to go full on for a wet setup and qualify highly. This way around, I would say it's worth it to put more of a wet setup on for a wet qualifying and a dry race. If a dry qualifying and a wet race, you don't want to put a wet setup on because you're going to end up all the way down the back, and in the race conditions you can't overtake anyway. But this situation, I think it's worth it for someone who's not normally at the front to go for a wet setup and try and get a good qualifying position and then work from there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Thanks to Brent, by the way, in the chat. He's just letting us know about the conditions moving on through the session and through the race. It does look like the session could dry up towards the end. It may not be dry, but it will dry out just a little bit towards the end of this session. And we're looking at a dry race. So all of these drivers in intermediate conditions are going to be running, well, a dry setup mainly, you would expect, obviously, with it being a full dry race. So that just adds a little bit of pressure to these guys, doesn't it, as well? You do have to make a few setup changes between the dry and the wet, especially in qualifying. What kind of changes, what kind of things do you think we're going to see from drivers tonight? As I think Black Poma there, who's the first person out onto the chat, just proving that it's pretty slippy out there, turn 8, nearly spinning the car.
I think he's proving that every driver is going to have to rediscover this track. They taught themselves through, I'm sure, many tens of TT laps when the track came out, and now they're going to have to rediscover every corner, every lap is going to be an adventure in qualifying. I think, say, what we're going to see, I think we're going to see the times just ramp up as drivers get a little bit more confident as the session goes on. And if it dries out, even more so. But I think we're going to see a real spread in times to start with as drivers are at different levels of confidence, particularly through the high-speed corners where Black Poma is now. You don't know how much throttle to put in, you don't know how early you need to turn in or where you're braking. So I think we're going to see a big spread of times that will slowly come towards each other as the session progresses.
Yeah, definitely will do. Let's ride on board then with Black Poma. As I just about to say that, massive snap of oversteer through turn 2 and proving your point. You don't know where to put the throttle on and where not to. He kept the throttle flat through turn 2, which is barely a corner in the dry, and he lost the rear of the car before turn
Chicken
3.
as well.
Yeah, just behind him, Chicken spinning coming out of turn 3. So two drivers already, the first two drivers on laps have spun in the first part of the lap. We'll have to see who the next person is on a lap. I think Tinkan's off the road now. Tinkan's gone straight on at turn 3 and has ended up in the barrier and has lost his front wing. So that's three drivers now. Looks like they've had a moment maybe through 2 and have not been able to catch it before they've got to turn 3. So a lot of drivers already struggling to keep the car on the road. Calvin's invalidated through turn 1. Man, this first sector in the wet already looking really difficult.
Rex is invalidated as well. I don't think anyone who's gone through Sector 1 so far has set a competitive first sector, or a valid first sector rather, but Darry is, I think, perhaps the first one to go through the first sector valley. He's done a 24.9, but yeah, everyone's coming unstuck. Let's have a look at Luke through that really tricky turn 8, and predictably very, very gentle through there. But yeah, every car, I think, is going to have a come unstuck at some point, because it's an awful track anyway, and even worse in the wet.
Yeah, I think the first person to complete a lap is going to be Tiag by the looks of things. He did a 0.9 in the first sector, and it was a 0.4, I think, in the first sector from Luke. So Luke already looking like he's half a second up on Tiag on this lap as Tiag then comes up towards the line, crosses the line. The Hassman is a 27.2. That's about 10 seconds off what the pace would be in the dry conditions. He's the only person with a lap time on the board so far. Rex crosses, but he was invalidated, as we mentioned. Luke then up towards the line in the Ferrari. Can he go faster than Tiag? Yes, he can, by nearly 2 seconds, looking much more confident in these conditions. And while that is a big gap, as Tiag's now gone off before turn 3 on his cooldown lap, It's a big gap. At least TR's got a time on the board. We already know that at least 5 drivers aren't going to have something on the board at the end of this first run.
It's massive just to get a lap on. I think for Luke that is going to be quite competitive. 6 tenths to YHY, who also sets a very good time. And something else to note here, which I've spotted, and I think it's why Rex invalidated, and it's why Carmen Robb is now invalidated, is people are getting this and next lap invalidations all the way back at turn 14 because it happens so early where you can get a this and next lap, and that's causing drivers to come unstuck as well. It hampered Rex, and I noticed Carmen Robb was invalidated as soon as he came across the line, and then he had a huge mistake as well at turn 5. So that's just showing your point that it's so important to have a lap on, and we've got 4 drivers now in the 25s.
Yeah, 4 in the 25s. Recurrick, the one to go closest to Luke at the top, just over a tenth, separating those drivers. Carwin Robb has invalidated, like you mentioned. He looks like he's going to go for another run on the same set of tyres. We'll see what kind of lap time he can do further up the field. Black Poma on his second lap on the intermediate tyres has gone up into P5 on a 26.2, and that's another note as well. Some of these drivers that are on the intermediate tyres will go out and do multiple laps on the same set of tyre because really, it's difficult to get the best lap time in on the first run, isn't it? You have to kind of bed the intermediate tyres in, and you have to find the pace within yourself as well. So a lot of these drivers are going to be fueled for 2, maybe 3 runs.
Yeah, even more than that. If it was me, I'd be sticking enough in for 4 or 5 laps because every lap you can feel yourself just ramping up, building more speed. You say in the tyres, but more so in yourself as well. And Carwin Robb showing that he's had a cracking first sector there, and everyone is now finally starting to get some competitive times in. And that's a byproduct, as you say, of everyone doing so many laps. You don't have to come in, turn around in the garage, change tyres, go back out. You can just get another lap on straight away. So I think making those early mistakes that we saw at turns 1, 2 and 3 isn't quite as costly because they will be able to just go again straight away.
Yeah, our championship leader, Forza Brendan, he's invalidated his second lap in a row in that white Red Bull. It was a .7 when he crossed the line. He would have gone just into 4th position. Let's see what Carwin Robb can do then, what his time is going to be as he comes up towards the final corner then. Turn 15, easily flat in the dry. Does he lift in the wet? He does have a slight lift mid-corner, but he keeps the car nicely to inside the track limits, up towards the line, derates before the line, and there you go. Provisional pole position for Carwin Robb yet again. By less than a tenth of a second, he goes ahead of Luke at the front of the field. So good time on the board for Carwin Robb, right at the front of the field, and both of his championship rivals at the moment without times on the board. Forza Brendan's already backed off, so it looks like he's out of fuel and he's going to have to come back into the pit lane. So not the smoothest of qualifying sessions so far for his championship rivals. Carwin Robb will be hoping that it stays like that for the rest of the session.
Absolutely. If Brendan's not completely happy at this track anyway, throw a wet qualifying into the mix, and the fact that he's invalidated twice in a row and he's clearly made some kind of mistake. Sorry, he's ran out of fuel, as you say, on his third lap. This is not how it wants to go, and when you have that kind of mistake, that poor start, it unsettles you going through it. It affects your brain all the way going forward, and it's going to just be that doubt in his mind now about if he doesn't like this track anyway and he can't get a lap in, it's just going to put even more pressure on himself as the qualifying goes on and as the race comes as well. So hopefully for Brendan's sake he can get a good lap in, but it's not a good start to the session for him at all. And I know drivers will be backing off to let guys through, but it's crazy how many yellow flags I'm seeing pop up on the track map there. Everyone's just making mistakes here, there and everywhere. I saw J. Cole had a huge spin a couple of minutes ago. He couldn't get the car righted for love nor money, but he eventually did at the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, we're just riding on board with Tin Can at the moment. Comes through the first sector on a .5, just about bang on a .5 in the first sector, but really, really sideways coming out of turn 4. Did well to not spin the car. Big understeer there through turn 11, through the Portimao corner of turn 11, then up towards the final sector then. What can we do? What can we see from the Ferrari man? He's not invalidated as of yet. Still got 2 corners to go. Trench has crossed the line in the second Alpine and gone into 4th position. So both Alpines currently inside the top 4 and comfortably within the top 10 as it stands. Here comes Tin Can then around turn 15 towards the start-finish line. Where can he put that Ferrari? Can he put it anywhere near his teammate at the top of the timesheets? Crosses the line, and he does, just behind his teammate. In fact, it goes P3 on a 25.4, which is a good lap time from him. And Calvin had just gone into P5 as well, just a couple of seconds beforehand on his 4th lap on that set of intermediate tyres. So he's doing exactly what you mentioned he would have done and put 4 or 5 laps worth of fuel in the car, and he's now managed to get up inside the top 5. Still 3 drivers without a competitive time on the board as Brent now improves in the AlphaTauri and goes P3. Funky Chicken, Forza Brendan and Harry Newag all yet to do times, and Harry Newag again has invalidated, so he's again, really struggling in these conditions. And we've seen it in recent rounds from Harry Nowak and from J. Cole as well. For both of the Mercedes cars, qualifying just hasn't gone well for either of them in recent rounds, has it?
It's a huge sticking point for them, something they need to overcome if they're going to have a competitive second half of the season. Because J. Cole's clearly got the speed. He showed that at Singapore. He could have won that race. He had fabulous pace. But if you can't deliver in qualifying, good results aren't going to just manifest themselves without a huge slice of luck. And when Brent popped in there, the top six are now covered by less than a quarter of a second. So much for me saying there was going to be a huge field spread, because it is monstrously tight at the top of this session. And Trench is only a tenth further back. We've got Rex and Nathan there as well. I think any of those guys could get pole, because I think it's still going to improve. And it does look like, as we were told in the chat, that it is getting a little bit brighter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just starting to get a little bit brighter. The rain is still coming down, but fairly lightly at the moment, so the track conditions are only going to improve as the session goes on. Luke had invalidated his first run on his next set of intermediate tyres, so we'll see the best of him on this next one. We're riding on board with Rex and the Alfa Romeo, and it's fair to say Rex himself had a fairly adventurous race in Budapest. Great qualifying, and wasn't quite able to match his qualifying pace in the race. Was battling a lot of drivers, ended up finishing a bit further down the order than he would have liked. We'll see what he can do, but again, another driver there at turn 11 that gets the car turned in and then just washes out towards the exit of the corner. A lot of drivers really struggling with that corner. Rex, another one of them. Wonder if that is a kind of a case of this track. Really, we know that this track is quite hard on tyres. We know in terms of tyre temperatures, it's quite hard. Do you think that maybe some of these drivers are just starting to struggle with overheating on the intermediates the more they get into the runs?
Potentially, because it does look like the track is clearing up, and as the water goes, the intermediates are going to struggle more and more to stay cool. They are going to overheat, so that could be a factor as well, that it's just moving away from the Inter's ideal range. I know in the F1 games historically, the Inters have been at their best when the rain is coming down. In the transition between wet and dry, they're not very good, and it does look like it's definitely easing up. There's no puddles showing now on screens, so I think tyre management, particularly in Sector 3 in that very tricky 10-11, as you say, is going to be something the guys are going to have to control there to make the tyres work for the whole lap. And turn 13 and 14 as well, awful corners on the front tyres. So that Sector 3 could be very pivotal in who gets pole position if it doesn't dry up any further. And I say that Rick does jump into pole with a 25.0. It's very close to the 24s now.
Yeah, coming down all the time, and we know Rikurik is really strong in wet conditions. Brilliant lap time for him then in the Haas. His Haas teammate at the moment still down in 16th, hasn't been able to improve really on his first run in this session. Was running with J. Cole and RJTW to see what times they could have done, and they both spun simultaneously at different parts of the track. J. Cole spun coming up towards turn 13 through turn 12, and RJTW was one of the many drivers that we're likely to see caught out by turn 8 this evening. And they're going to continue on and do another run on the same set of intermediate tyres. They've just not found any more time. There's only 5 minutes left in the session, and two drivers we know that are really strong in qualifying. Funky Chicken with pole a couple of races ago in Austria, and Forza Brendan, of course, pole sitter so far this season as well, and championship leader, still without times. Doesn't look like Brendan's got enough time now. He looks like he is going to set a valid time this time around if he keeps the car on track through turn 15, which should be easy enough to do, but he has to back off the throttle at the exit of the corner, and he's darted into the pit lane before he set the time, which is very interesting to see Forza Brendan dive in before he set the time, even if it does dry up.
I think that's a call for dries.
Yeah, I think that's
a call for dries. It's stopped raining now fully. I think he's realised that lap was going to be only a 26 or 27 and put him no man's land, so I think he's going to go all in for the dry tyres.
We'll see if that pays off, but if it doesn't dry out enough by the end of the session, then he's massively put himself on the back foot. No one, apart from Rikurik, really has improved. As I say that, Nathan jumps up into 6th place in the AlphaTauri in tonight's 4 maps. Of course, he wasn't able to race, but the reserve driver inside the top 6 quite nicely there. Just 4 thousandths behind Tinkan, who still holds that spot inside the top 5. And we'll talk briefly a little bit about the AlphaTauris as well. We've spoken about Mercedes and the struggles they've had so far in recent rounds. Quite the opposite for AlphaTauri. Matt's got his first podium in Austria, and Brent went and got his first podium last time out of Budapest. They're both on the up at the moment, aren't they?
They absolutely are. I was very harsh on Brent the first couple of rounds. Every time I went on board with him, it looked like he was struggling to stay on top of his car, but credit to him. I think he's one of the standout drivers of D3 this season. Without fail, he picks up points, and Tim Matz is really coming to his own as well now with that stunning podium. So I think there's no reason why one of these guys can't go ahead. Obviously, Tim Matt's not with us tonight, but there's no reason why either of them can't go and win a race this season. And I'll be surprised if one of them isn't at least in contention for it, because Brent and it's got a knack of just popping up in the right places at the right times this season. So it's definitely on the cards for them. Then you say they're going from strength to strength, and I think they're just improving every single round. It's been really fascinating and impressive to see.
Yeah, really has been great to see from them as well. We'll see what else they can do as the season goes on. Black Puma's next across the line, but he's off the pace at the moment. Here's the interesting part now. We've only got 3 minutes left in the session. We've got about a minute's window before the drivers are leaving it probably too late to come back out onto the track for their final runs. And the track still doesn't look dry enough for slick tyres. No one is committing to going out onto the track on a set of slick tyres, which makes me wonder again, as Forza Brendan's actually back out again on another set of intermediates. So that to me makes it even more maybe astounding that he didn't set that time, because the track's just not drying up quick enough.
Unless his other thought process was he just wanted to start his lap at the last possible moment, even if it was on inters. Perhaps he felt that if he finished that lap, it was going to compromise him if he wanted to do another one later on fresh tyres. That's all I can assume. Or he knew that lap wasn't going to be any good. As you say, otherwise there's no real logic to it. We have got 3 drivers with soft tyres equipped. Both Aston Martin's QVR Chill and Ariel Funky Chicken and XLJ Cold briefly had softs equipped and then thought no, seeing the delta on screen. But Chill and Funky Chicken, if they are going softs, they're clearly leaving it to the last possible moment. But I think you're right, this is an inter situation. But Funky Chicken is out on softs, and I'm intrigued to see how terribly this goes.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. With no time on the board, he really is taking a massive risk in this situation, which is bizarre to see, considering we know how good he is in qualifying. And just immediately prove our point, big side coming out of the pit lane, just able to hold on to it, and look at that on board through turn 1. Barely any grip at all. We'll see if he actually gets round to set a lap time. We'll wait and see. His teammate Chill is still sat in the pit lane waiting for the last moment, and the last moment has gone. He's missed the window to come back out onto the track for another lap, so Chill is not going to improve on 13th position in this session. Forza Brendan is on a lap then, currently down in last position as it stands, needing to get to the front of the field to be up with his title championship contenders of Rob and Tinkan, currently 3rd and 5th on the grid. Where can he put that Red Bull? He's got the Alfa Romeo just in front of him on the track, but they should get out of the way nicely. There is a massive queue of cars in the middle part of the track at the moment. One of the Alfa Tauris has spun coming through turn 4, but here comes Forza Brendan then through 14 and through 15. He's kept it on the track, he's kept it valid, which is good to see. Can he keep it on the track through 15? A big lift midway through the corner and a bit snap of oversteer there as well as he comes up towards the line. Forza Brendan crosses the line and he goes P7. Not bad a lap time, and he does have enough time to do another run on the same set of intermediates, but still not quite to the front of the field where we're used to seeing him at the moment. And just look at this queue of cars in the middle of the track, all trying to get enough space to start their final runs.
It's absolutely mad, isn't it? I was on board with Funky Chicken on his softs, and he had to let every single one of these cars go, and now they're backing up from here to Spain to try and find some space to start their final runs. How many are there? There's 8 of 9 of them coming through that final complex. It's absolutely chaotic. I mean, it's not going to compromise them as much as it would in the dry, but all the same, these guys are going to really struggle to get a clean lap in.
Yeah, really going to struggle. They've just managed to separate themselves out as someone's gone off the road. That's Trench that has spun through turn 8. He's off and close to the barrier, so he's not going to be improving on P9. Calvin, I don't think, made it to the line in time for a final run, so he's not going to improve. Trench has been disqualified for going the wrong way or down the track. That is such a shame for Trench. That is his 9th place gone in this session. He'll drop to the bottom of the timesheets, so that will put Rex back inside the top 10. We've got more drivers coming to the ends of their runs. It's going to be Tinkan first, but Tinkan, who was nearly 4 tenths up, too much speed through 15, and he invalidated at the very last moment in the lap. Tinkan then can't improve on P5. Across the line, Chill, he's obviously not got a lap, he's not been close enough to get a lap time in. Forza Brendan does slightly improve and gets himself up into P4 and ahead of Tinkan at least in the championship race. Carwin Rob coming around the final corner now, and he's well off the track there at 15, keeps it valid though, but backs off the lap. The lap wasn't up anyway, crosses the line and stays 3rd. No one at the moment looks like they're close enough to challenge Rikurik. Rikurik himself can't improve on this lap at the moment. Luke is currently on a lap in the Ferrari. Can he get close enough to challenge for pole position? Brent as well is on a lap in the Alfa Tauri. Here comes Luca then around the final corner and up towards the line, crosses the line, and he does. He takes pole position by a tenth of a second. Luke finds it on the final run. Luke and Rikurik have looked like the class of the field so far in these wet conditions, and they remain that way. Luke and Rikurik on the front row, but it's in Luke's favour in qualifying. Brent's not improving. He's invalidated on his lap. So has Dari as well. Funky Chicken didn't get around to the line in time to start his one on the soft compound tyres. So that is qualifying over. And Luke was fastest in the first runs. Rikurik put on a fight, but Rikurik couldn't improve and Luke capitalised.
That is an absolutely tremendously likeable and lovely front row. Very happy to see those guys out front, because both of them, I know Luke has already won a race this season, but I think Rick and Luke both deserve a shot at getting in amongst it for the victory. I'd be happy to see either of them win. But we've got Carwin Rob, we've got Tin Can, we've got Forza Brendan, all within 4 places of each other on the grid, so our title fight is very much alive. And that was a cracking qualifying session. So close from Carwin Rob down to Dari, 3/10 in it there. And the title contenders, hardly anything between them, a tenth and a half. So I think this is poised really nicely for the race.
Yeah, it really has been poised nicely for the race. And of course, everybody gets a free set of tyre choice as well. So we're going to see a big mix-up of what drivers want to do. But it's Luke and Rikurik on the front row, Carwin Rob and Forza Brendan on the second row. And then it's Brent, Tin Can, Nathan, Calvin, Dari and Rex that round off the top 10. Outside the top 10, it's YHYY, Black Poma, Tiag, Chill, J. Cole wasn't able to improve and will only start 15th. RJDW, Harry Nawag, and Funky Chicken without a time on the board ends up 18th on the grid. Trench, who was up in 9th position, got disqualified for driving the wrong way when rejoining the track at turn 8, so he drops to the very back of the field. And once again, it's J. Cole out of position and Funky Chicken as well, right down at the back of the field without a time.
That'll be a really interesting chart through the field to watch. I mean, we know J. Cole is a crafty hand in the races. He knows his way around up the field. But again, he's just put himself at such a disadvantage. Funky Chicken as well, who's been a tremendous qualifier this season. I'm shocked, especially to see him down there. And it's going to be really interesting because they're so out of place. So I think with the amount of mistakes we could see today, I think there's a shot at a really good, strong points finish for either of these. They go mediums, they go long, or even go softs and try and cut through some of the medium starters, which I would expect the majority to do. There's a great chance for either of those, so I wouldn't write anything off for either of them yet.
Yeah, anything can happen. Of course, we've got to take into account as well safety cars and many things like that as well. So much can happen, and the last 2 races, safety cars have had a massive influence on how the races turned out. In both situations, it was Forza Brendan who was looking like he was going to take a comfortable victory, and both times the victory was taken away from him through a safety car midway through the race. We've seen it so many times already this season, it can happen again. Even if you are the fastest on the track, you've got to be ready for anything to be thrown your way.
You have, and it's part and parcel of league racing and motor racing generally, is that there's all these unknown variables, and some of them are going to work for you, some of them are going to work against you. You've just got to take what you're given and adapt to it. And I've just noticed RJDW is starting on hards, and I want to say he's an absolute maniac, so good luck to him with that, because I don't know anyone who's tried the hard tyres at this track. It's a very straightforward soft medium or medium soft. Run the softs to around lap 8 or 9 and switch to mediums to the end. In the medium case, run those to around lap 23. Put on softs, go to the end. It's very straightforward. So the fact that RJ's on hards, I can only assume he's planning a safety car at some point. But we've got a mix, haven't we? In the top 10, we've got 6 on softs, 4 on mediums. We've got 6 on mediums outside the top 10, another 2 on softs. As I said, I'm surprised Funky Chicken isn't on the softs. So I thought, if you're outside the top 10, everyone's going to go mediums. Just stick the softs on, cut through everyone. I don't think there's too much difference between the strategies, so I'm a bit disappointed there that we've not got more soft runners in the back half of the field.
Yeah, interesting that not one of them have gone for that, like you say, as Chill has spun just coming down through turn 12. So yet again another spin in this session so far, and the race hasn't even got underway. But yeah, the top 3 all on softs, and then the 3 behind them on medium tyres. The interesting thing here, Carwin Rob on soft compound tyres, his 2 championship rivals on the mediums, so they've gone for something completely different. Carwin Rob here, if he wants to make this strategy work compared to the medium runners behind, you've got to think he's got to get through Luke and Rick as soon as possible.
He has, but I think there's, even if he doesn't, I think there's a big chance for the front three to cut away, at least in the opening couple of laps. The mediums do take a lap to come in. They are definitely the slower race tyre to start with. It will be 4 or 5 laps before they're significantly quicker, at least. So there's a chance for any of them here. Luke, Rick, Carwin, Rob, it's on a plate for all of them with 3 medium runners behind them, even if those medium runners are Falls, Brendan and Tinkan.
Yeah, keep an eye out for all the soft runners throughout the field, especially Nathan and Calvin as well. See what they can do from 7th and 8th on the grid. Can they get past the medium runners in the early phase of this race? But everybody is now lined up on the grid for the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's Luke and Rikurik on the front row of the grid. Who's going to get the best start off the line? Lights out and away they go, and it's a fairly even start from the front of the field. The top three, though, have dropped the medium runners immediately off the line. They are not under any threat whatsoever. Carwin Rob trying to go around the outside of Rikurik at turn 1 and through turn 2 towards turn 3. He'll have the outside line for the corner. Can he make it the inside for turn 4? Strung out wide a little bit. They're still side by side through the corner. Rikurik gets the better run off the corner, and he will just hold on to that position from the Alpine man. But Luke will hold the lead of the race down in towards turn number 5. Rikurik in second, Carwin Rob in third. Tinkan's been overtaken by Calvin already in the Red Bull. Calvin has had a brilliant start on those soft compound tyres. He's passed Tinkan and already onto the back of Brent as well. So the second Red Bull looking very fast in the early phase of this race. Rex is up a couple of places as well, as Trench is working his way through the back of the field as well. And already RJTW on those hards right down at the back of the field.
This track, with how wide and its sweeping elevation changes, really showed itself. So many position changes all the way through the field, but the top 5 staying in the order they started in. Fords Brennan is already finding himself cut adrift slightly, while Luke is making a run for it up front. Brent is all over the back of Brendan. I don't think Brendan's too happy in this opening lap. Calvin's made 2 places up as well. Rex doing well. The soft runners who started further back have had a great first lap.
Yeah, it's worked brilliantly for them, and Rex is looking like he wants another position too already. Can he make it 3? He's onto the back of the Ferrari of Tinkan in front, but I don't think he's got enough straight line speed to go for the move in towards turn 1, plus the fact that the turn 1 braking zone is very shallow, as Calvin a big moment through turn 1 just behind Brent in front, able to get away with it and holds that 6th place for the time being. Chill's had a good start for the back of the field. He's up into 10th position on those medium compound tyres. He's looking strong in the Aston Martin as well. J. Cole up 3 places from the start as well in the Mercedes, up to 12th position. So a lot of people gaining places. Black Poma and YHYY are the first drivers into the pit lane to change for some damage, and YHYY and Black Poma usually right in the midfield of that race. That is them right back down to the back of the field. Unfortunately, that's going to be a long old race for them unless there's a safety car.
Yeah, there's no way back into them for that. Black Poma was really boxed into a corner there. He had to go hard. I'm not sure the mediums will get to the end. They might do if you have godlike tyre wear. But I'm just shocked at Luke. He's 1.1 seconds clear already, and we're not even at the end of the second lap yet. He's really making a run for it. And you have to say, it's not exactly that Rick is slow. He's not. Calvin Robertson all over his gearbox, and Brendan likewise is dropping back from these as well. I think Luke has just got staggering pace right now. He won the endurance race in midweek, and you can see he's really riding a cloud right now. He's carrying that form forward into qualifying, into the race. He's having a cracking week.
Yeah, going really well so far for the Ferrari man. DRS is now enabled, but that is not going to be any problem for Luke. He's 1.5 seconds clear over Rikurik behind. Can Brendan get within DRS range of Carwin Rob in front? If he can, that would really open up some opportunities for Brendan in this race. Further in behind, interesting to see, Calvin in the first couple of laps was really making hay while the sun shined, and now that he's stuck behind Brent, Tinkan's back all over the back of him again. So we mentioned in qualifying that some people could struggle with tyre temperatures in this race. You only really see the effects of tyre temperatures in the final sector of this lap. But I'm wondering, are we starting to see some drivers just struggling maybe with those left-hand side tyres?
Potentially. I think, as you say, it's the last few corners where it really comes into play. The rest of the lap, there's not too much of a problem, but the soft runners don't seem to be struggling too much right now, and Calvin had a big look at Brent there into 10-11, but had to dive out of it. That's a kind of open corner where so many lines through there, you can dive from wherever you like, really. Further back, Harry Noir and Trench just got elbows out of turn 4. I think Harry Noir ran Trench off the track. Trench might be feeling a little bit aggrieved about that, but Harry Noir very much in hungry mode and is leading a massive train again, and he's got his elbows out again.
Yep, doing as he did, like you say, in Hungary, see what he can do. Funky Chicken from the back of the field is now right on the back of Tiag as well for 15th on the road. Onto lap 4, Karin Robb is in the DRS range of Rick, but he's not close enough to go for the move further up the field. J. Cole going for the move on Darry for 11th position down the inside of turn 1. He'll get that move done, and Nathan now
Tin
is...
Can.
Oh! Tin Can for Calvin down the inside, dives it on Calvin. Rex looking like he's going to try and capitalise. Calvin holds the pace through turn 4. Tin Can though is going to get an amazing run down towards turn 5. Karin Robb's going for the move as well at turn 5 on Rikurik. Tin Can down the inside. He's going to get that move done on the Red Bull of Calvin, who's just started to struggle a bit on those softs, but he's trying to come back at him up towards turn 7. Can he keep it down the inside? No, he can't. He has to back out of that one. He's not far enough alongside to commit to the move. So Tin Can up into 6th position. Calvin down to 7th, but that has separated themselves from the rest of the top 5. Karin Robb through, and he's up into 2nd place, but he's already now 2 seconds behind Luke, who, like you said, is just scampering off into the distance.
Luke is very much checked out. I think Karin Robb is going to do well here to keep Rikurik behind into turn 1. He's going to need... Well, he had a tremendous exit there out of 13. But that was a move from Tin Can, wasn't it, of someone who wants to win a championship. He knew he needed the place, and he got it done. Calvin behind him struggling for traction out of 14 and through to the downhill tilt of 15. But huge for Tin Can, he makes that move. And I said about Rick coming back, here he is, he's got the run, but he's lifting off the throttle down the straight. He doesn't want to make the move on Rob. He wants to just follow him through, and I think that's... While it's not the most entertaining for us in the commentary box, it's understandable. Rob is one of the quickest guys in the field. It makes sense to just try and follow him through as much as you can and push up to Luke. So Rick being a wily old fox there.
Yeah, being the smart man is, and he definitely wants to see it. Oh my word, Forza Brendan nearly drove clean into the back of Rikurik there at turn 5, but just about got away with it. Rikurik, like I was about to say, is just trying to see if Rob can catch Luke, but in the last sector, in the first sector of this lap, he's not gained any time. In fact, he lost time to Luke in the final sector on the previous lap, so he's not found anything yet. Further down, Trench continues his charge forwards. He's trying to get a move done down the inside of turn 8. That's a dive down the inside of Darry. They make heavy contact with each other. Darry's going to hold the place coming up towards turn 9 and 10, but Trent should have the inside line for this corner. Can he dive it down the inside through 10 and 11? He's not really late enough on the brakes, and Darry should have the run around the outside of the corner to just hold on to the position. Is really struggling at this point in the race. A lap ago, J. Cole passed him, and J. Cole's already nearly 2 seconds up the road. Trent, Harry Nawag, and look at Funky Chicken as well, thinking about a move for 14th position. He got past Tiago on the previous lap. He's already having a go at Harry Nawag for 14th, and we're seeing it now. It's really bizarre, isn't it? Throughout the field, we're seeing some people on the softs struggle and some people on the softs really shine. Likewise, for the mediums, we're seeing some people shine on the mediums and others, like Darry, just start to plummet back through the field as there goes Trench down the inside towards turn 1, and Funky Chicken's going to try and do the same towards turn 1 on Harry Nawag.
I can only assume there's a real risk. Some guys are overheating and some aren't. Funky Chicken, as you say, slips through, and he makes up another place there. He's into 14th. And I think Darry really struggling. He runs wide there on the exit 4. I think Funky Chicken's going to make another place. Darry's got DRS, but he's got no run off turn 4. Funky Chicken actually backs out of it on the brakes. I thought he was going to send that there, but he can wait another lap. But he has an awful moment of traction. Harry Wilde is going to come straight back at him here now, is he? No, Mercedes just backs out. We've got a change up front. Forza Brennan's through on Rikurik. That was a strange place to make an overtake. I can only assume Rikurik lost it at the exit of turn 8 there.
Yeah, that's the only assumption I can make as well. But Rikurik, now that he's fallen behind Karin Robb, is really starting to struggle on those soft compound tyres. He's not got the pace. Karin Robb's pulled away. Maybe a mistake from Rikurik as well. And still, as there's a yellow flag, that's Harry Nawag that's gone around. I wonder if Harry Nawag has made contact with someone a bit further down the field. I don't see any visible damage. Whether he's just spun on his own or not, we'll wait and see. But Tiag's dropped down as well. Actually, Tiag's the one with damage. So I wonder if Tiag has made contact with the back of Harry Nawag through turn 11. We'll wait and see a little bit later on. But that is them now down towards the back of the field. We've got further up the field as well. We've got Rex on the back of Calvin for P7 on the road. Really late on the brakes there was Rex, but no way he was going to get that move done in towards turn 1. Since Tin Can's passed Calvin, he's not broken DRS to Calvin, and despite the battling in front, Tin Can can't close in on Brent in 5th position.
I wonder if that's a DRS effect as much as anything. He is making Harry Nawag retires in the pits. I think he is going to make... He is making slow progress, but he doesn't need moments like that. A huge snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 5. He is going to close in, but he needs to do it quickly before Rikurik, before Karin Robb come into the pits. Because if Karin Robb's softs do go off before he comes in, he's going to back these guys up a little bit. That'll give Tin Can an incentive to close in, or an opportunity to close in. He needs to make the most of it. And if it isn't Calvin Robb, it's going to be Rick, I think, that'll get Tin Can into play because he can't let Brendan or Rob get away. And if he does come in, he's going to drag Calvin, he's going to drag Rex, he's going to drag Nathan, and chill all the way with him. So I think we could see this train close right up from second back to 10th.
Yeah, a big queue at the moment, and still Carwin Robb is struggling. It's now Calvin's the next person with a time penalty. Carwin Robb can't close in on Luke. Luke now 3 seconds up the road at the front of the field. Luke is flying in that Ferrari. He is loving this race so far. No problems whatsoever for him. Carwin Robb, instead of closing in on Luke, has been caught by Forza Brendan now. So Brendan on the medium compound tyres, looking really strong at this point in the race. It's coming towards the medium runners a bit more. And now Brendan closing in the back of his championship rival for second place on the road, dragging Rick and Brent with him as well. They're right in the thick of it as well as it stands. But what a start to this race has been for Luke. I mean, we've said it already, but no one at the moment at least can come close to him.
He's in a league of his own, isn't he? As I said, I think that endurance race is really giving him a boost because he won early in the season and then he had dropped away a little bit. And he's just on another level today, on another plane of existence. This is what we're used to seeing from Carmen Robb or Forza Brendan, and as it is, neither of those guys can get anywhere near him. So this is staggering from Luke and fully deserved as well. He's taken his qualifying opportunity and he's converting it with full marks so far. And I'm really interested in this battle that is evolving between Rickerick and Brent because I want to see. I'm interested how much pace Brent has. I want to know. Do you think Brent here, if he's on the pace of Rob and Forza Brendan? Because I don't think Brendan's not hounding Rob, is he? I don't think Brendan's got much more in reserve. So Brent's definitely in this race for a podium as well. And Calvin is our first off runner into the pits.
End of lap 8 then into the pit lane. It comes the Red Bull man for what you would assume would be a set of medium tyres. And it is. That's probably the earliest you can pit to take the mediums to the end of the race then. He's in trying to get that undercut. And now we'll see how powerful that undercut is. He was only about half a second behind Tin Can when he came into the pit lane. He should come out in country miles of clean air, and he does. So Calvin here is going to be a really good key for the rest of this field as to how strong that undercut is. And we imagine that the undercut around this track is quite large.
I think it is. By this point in the race, it will be. And I'll keep an eye on his gap to Luke. It's 31.7 seconds so far. Chill gets another penalty. I don't think that's any surprise based on this season so far. But yeah, 31.7 was the gap for Calvin. So I'll keep an eye on that and see how he closes in. I think at the very least he's going to make good progress on Calvin and Rickerick, who are lapping a little bit slower than Luke right now.
Yeah, at the moment running a little bit slower, like you say, and still, Forza Brendan, like you mentioned, he's not struggling as such at this point in the race, but he can't get close enough to Carwin Robb to really battle the Alpine at this point in the race. Neither of the two leaders into the pits, they stay out and we go on to lap 10. Of course, none of these drivers would have done laps on these set of soft compound tyres in qualifying, so they do have a little bit better wear on them than you would expect, as Nathan into the pit lane and Speed's on his way into the pit lane as well. So he's the next person to make that pit stop off of the soft compound tyres onto what will be the medium compound tyres. And still Tin Can now, he's got no pressure from behind. Rex is not within DRS range. Still, that affected DRS for the rest of the top for second through to fifth means that Tin Can just can't find a way to close in at the moment.
Yeah, the gap's hovering around 1.7 to 1.9 and it's just not coming for him. He needs Carmen Robb's tyres to drop off significantly, but I don't think that's going to happen before Carmen Robb comes into the pits. I think it's now, although Carmen Robb's he's putting a shift on now. He's taken 4/10 out of Luke this lap. I don't know if Luke's made a mistake, but this might have been the moment that Carmen Robb has spotted to get the hammer down, and he is going to pull Brendan and Rick with him.
Yeah, at the moment he's at least pulling the pair of them with him, like you say. Has Carwin Robb recognised now's the time to push? Has he saved those soft tyres a little bit more so that they're a bit better at the end of the stint? Or is he thinking about making the pit stop at the end of this lap, and is that why he's pushing? We'll wait and see. We of course got to see where Calvin comes out in relation to this battle as well. Luke comes around the final corner. He continues on. Carwin Robb also continues on, interestingly. So he stays out on the track, as does Rickerick as well. So none of the soft runners inside the top 5 deciding to make their first pit stop in this race. Rex neither has come into the pit lane in 7th position, so they're all still staying out on the track. Trench is staying out on the track as well on his set of soft compound tyres, so still Calvin and Nathan, the ones that have come in early. Nathan's put the hard compound tyres on, interestingly. That's not really what you would expect from a pit stop at this point in the race. But Calvin now has got a massive opportunity to undercut quite a few drivers.
Yeah, he is making steady progress. And look at this, Forza Brendan nearly going up the inside of Carwin Rob into turn 5. He had a go for it. He went late, I think. But it didn't come off, and that is going to slow these guys down, and that is going to help Luke out. It's going to help Calvin out as well, Forza Brendan's teammate. But I was just about to say, Tinkan, he is gaining on these guys, but I checked, he lost 4/10 down the straight to DRS, so that is what he's trying to fight against right now. He is quicker than the guys ahead of him, but he just can't make any inroads because of that DRS, because of that slipstream that Brent has.
Yeah, can't make an inroad at the moment. When the soft runners come in and they do start to split up, maybe it might work into his favour, but at the moment it's working against him, as off the road has gone Black Poma on his hard compound tyres at the exit of turn 1. He continues on, I don't think with any damage, but it's been a bit of a horror show, unfortunately, for Black Poma in this race. Luke again continues on. We're on to lap 12 of this race, and Luke is still going. Carmen Rob is still going as well, but Forza Brendan is now starting to apply a bit more pressure down towards turn 1. Brendan not close enough to make a move into turn 1, but can he think about the move at turn 5? At this point in the race, do you think that Luke and Carwin are maybe leaving this a bit too long, and now they're just starting to compromise their own strategy a bit?
I'm not too sure. I think for as long as Carwin Rob's there, we'll just have a look at Forza Brendan. Here he goes again he goes late, again it's half-hearted. Carwin Rob's fair enough ahead to keep that position. But yeah, as long as Luke has got Carwin Rob as a bit of a stopgap between himself and the guys and the medium runners behind, he may as well just keep going. Calvin's not going to undercut Luke, so all this does for Luke is it just means he has less of an offset in tyre performance to the medium runners when they pit. He's going to give himself fresher mediums. He's going to give himself more of a weapon to fight with when those guys who started mediums are going to come at him on some fresh softs. So I think for as long as Carmen Rob's there, this makes sense for Luke, and try and get a better tyre offset relative to the guys who are going to pit later.
Yeah, definitely working for Luke in this point in the race. Carwin Rob still holding that second position. Do we see them in the pits at the end of this lap? No, Luke again stays out for another lap. He's continuing on those soft compound tyres. Carwin Rob stays out. Rick is into the pit lane. So Rick at the end of lap 12 has boxed off of those soft compound tyres, and now this is a good opportunity for Rick here to use a fresh set of medium compound tyres to try and undercut Carwin Rob, who into turn 1 has been overtaken by Forza Brendan. Carwin Rob with a dive back down the inside of turn 3 on the Red Bull man. They still run side by side up towards turn 4. Brendan with the inside line forces Carwin Rob a little bit out wide. Neither of them, I think, have DRS down this straight, but Forza Brendan, with more grip in those medium compound tyres, is through on Carwin Rob. And now that Forza Brendan's made that move, surely we're going to see Luke and Carwin Rob in at the end of this lap.
He has to. Luke has got a big advantage as he's ever had, 3.8 seconds. So this is now the time for him to pit. It's now the time for him to go hell for leather on a fresh set of mediums. Build that gap on Forza Brendan as it will be when he comes in to around 5-6 seconds. Get as much of an advantage as he can. And there is a chance here for Luke to really cement his lead. It's 4 seconds right now. He can make it a hell of a lot bigger. And I think, well, Carwin Rob's in a position here to actually come back at Forza Brendan if he does decide to stay out another lap, because Brendan isn't running away, is he? And it looks like Carwin Rob's even getting better traction through some of these slow corners. So if I was Rob, I'd go out another lap, try and get Brendan back.
Yeah, looks like he's just going to keep going again as Luke stays out for yet another lap on those soft compound tyres. Carwin Rob does as well, so is Carwin Rob going to come back at the Red Bull man down towards turn 1? He is. He's not got a lot of ERS in his back pocket, but that doesn't matter. He was close enough coming off of turn 15, and he's going to get that move done on his championship rival, back up into second place and ahead of the Red Bull man of Forza Brendan. But all this is doing now is bringing Brent more into play, and Brent has way more ERS than both of the drivers in front of him. He's just sitting there in 4th place, waiting for something to happen, I think, between these two, and then he'll pounce a bit later on. Forza Brendan coming back around the outside of turn 5 this time on Carwin Rob. Is Carwin Rob going to leave him the space on the exit? Just about. And Forza Brendan with better traction coming out the corner. Has he got the move done down the inside of turn 7? He has, but Carwin Rob's going to try and stick it out around the outside of turn 8. That'll be amazing if he can pull that off. Around the outside again, a little bit of contact. They're still side by side coming down through turn 9. This is a brilliant battle from the top two in the championship into turn 10 and 11. The inside line with Forza Brendan, but Carwin Rob still's going to try and hold it around the outside of the corner. He'll have the inside for 12 and 13. Can Brendan still hold the position around the outside for half a lap? They've been going side by side, and finally Forza Brendan has to give way to Carwin Rob. Amazing driving between the two of them, a brilliant battle, but all that has done is just given Luke an even bigger lead. Now it's up to 5.2 seconds.
That deserves a James Head clap. That was fabulous from our title contenders. Carwin Rob dives into the pits. I don't think if I was Brendan, I don't think that was very smart. I don't think he needed to fight that as hard as he did, being the person who's in the lead of the championship. And it just cost him over a second to Luke, who's really the bigger picture here that Brendan should be thinking about. He's going to have better tyres than Rob anyway. So he's just... I'm not sure that fight was lovely to watch, brilliant entertainment, but I'm not sure it was the thing Brendan needed. And he's now very vulnerable to Brent, who's directly behind him. I've got to watch, don't get those two names mixed up. And where's Calvin Robb going to come out in relation to Calvin? Only just ahead of him. So Calvin has got a real chance here now to get ahead of his teammate and to get ahead of Brent. That early stop is working for him, and he's going to have better tyres than his teammate. Calvin Robb, obviously much fresher right now. But in the short term, that stop is paying dividends for Calvin.
Yeah, in the short term it definitely is. So it's paid even more dividends for us. Rikurik further up the road, now ahead of Calvin Robb by well over 2 seconds now, and Rikurik gets the move done on RJDW down in towards turn 5 and it's up back into the top 10. He's right at the back of Dari, who is still really struggling on his medium compound tyres, hasn't got any pace at all at this point in the race. But yeah, Rikurik now comfortably clear of Calvin Robb on the track at least, so that's played nicely into the Hassman's hands, whose tyres are only a couple of laps older than that of the Alpine. So that's what really nicely is. Finally into the pit lane at the end of lap 15. Luke is into the pits. That is a lot longer than I was expecting anybody to go on the softs. But like you mentioned, everyone was battling so much behind that Luke can just continue to extend those tyres and just make his race a little bit easier for the rest of it. And he's going to come back out onto the track. He's going to be behind Trench, who is still going on his soft compound tyres. Luke out onto the track with no one near him.
Had absolutely no incentive to pit, as you say, and it's worked really well. And I'll tell you what we've not mentioned. Look at this, XL Tin Can now less than a second behind Forza Brendan. So that battle was costly looking forward for Brendan, but it was also very costly looking behind, because these guys look quicker than Brendan right now. They're all over him, he's going to have a fight in his hands now to stay ahead of both. He's going to lose out to Rick, he's going to lose out to Calvin Robb, he's going to lose out to Calvin, I think, when he does come into the pits. So it's imperative for Brendan he does not lose any more places, otherwise he's going to give himself a mammoth task to do on the softs in those final 14-13 laps.
Yeah, it really is going to be a mammoth task. Like you say, the problem here, though, for Calvin Robb, he's now in a queue of cars. He's got to pass. Going to go around the outside of turn 9. It'll be the inside for turn 10 on RJGW. And RJ, without his pit stop yet, doesn't fight it. And Calvin also immediately capitalising, but losing the rear of the car coming out of turn 11. Manages to keep it away from the wall, but a big slide there coming out of the corner. And that was Calvin nearly out of the race. What that has done has let Calvin Robb get up the road a little bit. And Calvin Robb's immediately onto the back of Dari for 10th place on the road. He should get that move done very easily down towards the first corner, and Calvin now has set himself back just a little bit.
He has. That was a little bit trigger happy on the throttle. Trench comes into the pits. That'll help Calvin Robb and Calvin's progress. Calvin Robb does get through on Dari. The pit loss here is about 24 seconds. Calvin Robb's gap to Forza Brendan is 23.9. So Calvin Robb needs to get the hammer on now, and he needs to have some really solid laps before Brendan comes in and try and build a buffer there while he can. And Calvin needs to try and do the same, but he's in the midst of a huge battle right now. He nearly runs into the back of RJDW there, and that's going to let Rex through, is it, on the exit of turn 5? I think the Red Bull just about hangs on. They're going to go side by side through to 7, and Rex backs out of it. He's not feeling as eager as he was last week, but this is not what Calvin needs.
No, not at all. That small mistake he made coming out of turn 11 has massively cost him. Calvin Robb clear up the road, and Calvin couldn't pass RGW down the pit straight because he had the DRS on the back of Calvin Robb himself. So Calvin now really stuck, and what this could do is, while it pays against Calvin in this race, this could help out his teammate in the long run, in that his teammate at the moment will still come out ahead on the track, and you can see how much pace Calvin has compared to RJ. Is just so much faster. And look at that, cuts down the inside of turn 14, be the inside of 15. He's going to get the move done before we even get to the pit straight. Gets that move done, he's down the inside. Can he make it past Dari on the straight as well? He's going to open his DRS and tuck into the slipstream of the McLaren. Is he close enough to get the move done? RJ, though, is kind of boxing the Red Bull in and is back down the inside. Did Calvin get too trigger happy trying to make the move? No, he didn't. He goes around the outside, but completely off the track in the process. He's up into 11th position. RJ down into 12th. Calvin finally gets the move done, but he's already nearly 3 seconds behind Calvin Robb further up the road.
Yeah, this is a classic Calvin performance, I think. I'm sorry to say. He's shown tremendous speed, but it's just not come for him, and 2 penalties as well, which are going to cause huge problems for him at the end of this race. He's going to get Darry here. He's got a huge run towards turn 7. He's going to flick it in there. Is he going to send it up the inside of 8? Not brave enough for that one. He might have another look into turn 11. He's got so much more confidence under traction and braking, but then again a little squirm of oversteer as he gets too eager on the throttle. Is he going to send it now into turn 11? He's going to brake very late. He's going to take a much higher line into the corner, the track drops down quickly, so he'll get a much straighter, much smoother run on next to the corner, and he nearly loses it again through 12, the left-hander. You can see how much he's fighting the track as much as himself, and he's dropped it completely there. That was you could see that coming from a miles away, and he's going to cut right across the track here. This will be a 10-second penalty if ever I saw one, and it's not. That's remarkable, but his tyres are going to be baked like a turkey here, and awful lap for Calvin. He's not had the best of luck today, and he's not had the best control of his car either.
No, it's just kind of been the story of his season, unfortunately, hasn't it? For Calvin, came into the season with so much hope behind him, and just none of the performances he's put in has really been up to the standard that we would have expected. Unfortunately, back down to 13th on the road, and well off the back of the battle he was fighting on much older tyres, so going to be a struggle for Calvin towards the end of this race then to even finish maybe inside the top 10 at this point. Real struggle for him, unfortunately, in this race. The leaders of this race are on to lap 19 now, so we're closing in on the pit stop window for them to put on a set of the soft compound tyres. Brendan leads, Brent's right behind, Tin Can looking very fast in 3rd place, but can't find a way through. These lot are now 9 seconds up the road from Chill, who's been dropped in this phase of the race by the top 3. J. Cole there in 5th, and Funky Chicken, of course, from the back of the field, now closing in on the back of J. Cole for 5th on the road.
Tin Can's in.
Yeah, Tin Can's into the pit lane then. Tin Can in from 3rd in this group of cars, and that is a lap earlier than maybe we were expecting then for him to come into the pit lane. He's trying the undercut on Brendan and Brent. He thinks that he can go a bit faster, and that could pay beautifully for the Ferrari man.
I think we could see a double undercut here if Tin Can has a clean and smooth outlap and uses some of his errs there. He would have seen that Calvin Robb did 14 laps on the soft, so he knows they can go the distance. I would have thought Brendan or Brent would have done the same, because they need a huge lap now. Tin Can is going to be so quick out of the pits, and he's in clean air. He's got Rick and Calvin Robb just ahead of him, who are battling away like crazy. Rick's really... Oh, wait, is that Calvin Robb that's passed Rick?
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
He did, yeah, into turn 1 when Tin Can was coming out of the pit lane. Rikurit got overtaken by Carmen Robb. So in the last 4 laps of the race, Carmen Robb's closed down what was a 2.5 second gap and has got past Assman. So at this point in the race, Carmen Robb looking much more confident on the mediums than he was on the softs.
He's got an incredible pace. He didn't look happy, did he, on the softs? But yeah, he's come alive on the mediums. And what's his gap to Luke? It's about 4.2 seconds, so he is making gains from where he was when he came into the pits. It was about 5 seconds, wasn't it? So hand over fist now. Calvin Robb is making huge. Is showing purple in the middle sector, and Tin Can's going to be joining them very soon as well. Brendan and Brent in, but I'm intrigued. I think Tin Can might have just done enough here. The gap is 24 seconds as he came round turn 14. I said it's about 24 seconds. This is going to be very close, and we've got Tiagoff at the back there.
Yeah, coming up towards turn 5, he's gone off the road, unfortunately. Where is Tin Can then in reference to Karen Robin? 18.5 for the fastest lap of the race. Where are Brent and Brendan in comparison? Tin Can's got Brent, but I don't think he's got Brendan unless he can get the move up towards turn 3. Brendan really sideways coming out of turn 1. Tin Can's going to look down the inside of his championship rival. Brendan leaves him the space, but Brendan should just about hold on to the place coming through turn 4. But here comes Tin Can with the DRS down towards turn 5. Brendan's going to move to the middle of the track. Tin Can down the inside, late on the brakes against the Red Bull. A little bit of contact between the two of them. Who's going to get the better exit? Brendan gets the better exit around the outside of the corner and just about holds on to that 5th place on the road, what will be 4th place when Jacob comes into his pit stop. He cut it really fine, did Brendan, but he just held on against Tin Can.
Really harsh, but really solid racing there from both. Respect given. I think Brendan, if I'm being picky, I think he pinched Tin Can a little bit on the apex, but he did what he needed to do to keep a hold of this position and keep ahead of his rival. And now these guys have really got to set up after Rick, after Carmen Robb. And Luke is losing time as well to these guys. We're going to see the top 5 here, as it is when J. Cole comes into the pits, all close up completely, and I can't wait for this battle. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it really is going to be fantastic. Like you say, what can these drivers do then for the rest of this race? Karen Robb now down to 3.9 between him and Luke. The gap came down by about 0.4 of a second on that previous lap. Can he continue at that pace, or can he find a bit more further down the pits, further down the order, by the way? RGW into the pit lane off those hard compound tyres. That strategy, as we'd expect, has not worked at all for him, so he's going to drop down to about 15th position. He'll put a fresh set of soft compound tyres on, but he's now down and well outside of the points-paying positions. J. Cole, I think at this point of the race as well, is just hoping for some sort of safety car to bring him back into contention, because as it stands, he's going to drop behind Trench and down into 13th. So J. Cole, not been the comeback through the field that we were expecting for the Mercedes man.
No, but if he's not got the pace, I get the strategy. Just go along and you say hope for a safety car because it's worked the last 2 races. I just want to talk about Brendan. I'm worried about Brendan because this is the kind of situation we've seen before where he can go for an overtake that's not really on and it's going to cost him. It's what happened at Spain. It's what happened at Hungary. He saw his name up in lights and then tried an overtake that wasn't on, and Tin Can is hounding him for good measure as well. So I really hope for Brendan's sake. But he's going to go, look at this, he's got tremendous run on Rick Rich. You can get the move done before he even get to the DRS zone. I think Tin Can could follow them through on Rick. Rick's tyres look like they've gone, and in fact Tin Can could have a slipstream on Brendan here. Brendan could find himself vulnerable into turn 5. This battle has already come alive here.
Already has come alive, yeah. So Brendan gets the move done on Recuric. Tin Can follows him through as well. Brent's going to try and get the move done as quickly as he can as well. These three starting to charge back through the field. Luckily for Brendan's sake, he's within range of Carwin Rob's DRS, so he's able to hold that down towards turn 5. Here comes Brent down the inside of Recuric at turn 5 as well, trying to get the move done on the Haas car, and he has got the move done. A brilliant opportunistic move from the AlphaTauri down the inside of the corner. Brakes late, outbrakes the Haas, and the Recuric in 1 lap has dropped from 3rd to 6th positions. That is the power of the soft compound tyres. Now can Forza Brendan and Tin Can do the same to Carwin Rob on this lap, as look at the gap now between the leaders. It's now down to 3 seconds. They're all closing in on Luke.
Yeah, Luke is going to be sweating like crazy right now. He just needs to hold his nerve because Carwin Rob, I think, might just have enough in hand to keep Brendan at bay. He certainly did on those dodgy softs. And we've got Spinner at the back. I think that is TRT Trench at turn 8. But
yeah,
what's worth noting is Tin Can looks much quicker on the softs than Brendan does. I think Tin Can is the quickest of all of these guys right now. And but he needs Brendan to lose DRS. But all through that lap, through turn 8 especially, Tin Can just looks so much more confident. And here is Brendan into turn 1 on Carwin Rob. I thought Carwin Rob was going to hold him out longer. Brendan's running him out on turn 1. Carwin Rob is forced to take to the escape road at turn 2, and he barges his way through, but Brendan makes it stick. Fabulous overtake, and Carwin Rob runs wide at 4. He's vulnerable to Tin Can now, and Tin Can's going to follow Brendan through and Carwin Rob, and just like that, the title changes again. Carwin Rob loses 2 places. Brendan's through, Tin Can's through, and they can both set off now after Luke. The gap is 2.8 seconds.
Whatever Brendan can do, Tin Can do as well. They're following each other through at the moment. They've got great speed on these softs. And look at the gap coming down between Forza Brendan and Luke at the front of the field. Luke has held this so far for this race. He's been dominant in the early phases, but it's starting to fall away just a little bit at the front of the field. Brendan, we know, has been so upset with how the last 2 races have gone. 2 wins that look comfortably in his hands, taken away through a mid-race safety car in both situations. He managed to recover in Austria to a 2nd place finish and nearly won the race. Hungary unfortunately wasn't the same for him, and he threw away what could have been a top 5 finish. He's now trying to regain all those points back with a win here, but is Tin Can close enough for a move on Forza Brendan? Maybe is Tin Can the fastest lap of the race, an 18 flat on his soft compound tyres. Brent's going to get the move on Carwin Rob down towards turn 1 as well, so he's through on these drivers. So Brent following these drivers through. We've seen it so far that every time Brendan goes for a move, Tin Can get the move done at almost the same point, and Brent maybe about half a lap later. So if they all catch Luke, which they're doing at a vast rate of knots, they could all sweep through, and all 3 of them could end up on the podium.
I think that's what we're looking at right now. I think it will certainly be the case that Tin Can will follow Brendan through on Luke, because if Brendan gets past Luke, Luke is going to jump out of Tin Can's way, I think, and let the Ferrari through. But the trouble is to do that without letting Brent through as well, because Tin Can doesn't need the added stress for charging AlphaTauri behind him. But I think you're right. I think we're seeing right now between Brendan and Tin Can and Brent the battle for the podium. Carwin Rob can't live with any of them, and the gap now between Brendan and Luke is 1.4. They're a second a lap quicker than Luke. And if the trouble for Tin Can, though, this could be his last chance before they catch up to Luke for him to get past. But I think Brendan's going to be in DRS on Black Poma, so I think it's actually Black Poma that's going to save Brendan's bacon here, because Tin Can is even closer this lap than he was last time round.
He is, yeah. Yeah, there you go. For DRS then for Forza Brendan. That has massively saved him. He's using his ERS as well to hold the position down towards the first corner, and Forza Brendan will stay in that second position. Tinkan, can he think about a move at turn 5? That yellow flag is for Black Poma moving out of the way, and Carmen Robb now with a time penalty to add to his problems as well. That will drop him behind Rekurik as he stands, so more of a dent for his championship as well. Carmen Robb has been so fast in recent rounds, but this strategy for him hasn't worked, and now all three of the soft runners have caught Luke with a long time to go in this race. There is still 7 laps to go when we finish this lap. So a long time left. Brendan doesn't need to rush this, but at this point he's actually so much faster than Luke that he's almost running clean into the back of him.
Most important thing for Brendan is he doesn't make a mistake. Tin Can is less than 2/10 of a second behind him. So Brendan, I say if he was in his position, I wouldn't complain at just taking second place and sitting behind Luke, but that's not what we race for. We race to win races, not just championships, and I think Brendan is going to get rid of Luke very quickly. But as I said, the problem is that Tin Can will probably get through at the exact same point. And if one gets through, Luke is going to let the other one through. But look how close Tin Can is. He's really got the speed under him, this Ferrari, which is not normally the case. Usually Tin Can wins from a position of opportunism, but today it's on raw speed. And here comes Forza Brendan through into the lead, and Luke does get out of his teammate's way straight away. Brendan's got no ERS, Tin Can's got no ERS. This is just raw speed they're fighting on. And Brent's not too far behind either. So this is how Forza Brendan's nerves now in a race he probably didn't expect to win. He's in prime position to win it with his main rival behind him. This is going to be a excruciating last 7 or 6.5 laps for all of these guys. Oh, how are your nerves, Forza Brendan?
Yeah, how are his nerves? Exactly. This is a really great opportunity for Brendan to pick up one of the wins that he's lost in the last 2 rounds. Is Brent going to try and get a move done on Luke as well? Brent ideally needs to get this move done on the Ferrari before the top 2 stretch away at the front of the field. He wants to capitalise if those 2 in front start batting. And look at this. You might be thinking about a move into turn 10 and 11, but he's not close enough or confident enough on the brakes to go for the move this time around. So he's going to have to hope that Luke maybe drops DRS to the drivers in front down the pit straight, and he can just drive past him down that straight. Then we'll wait and see. Further down the field, by the way, RJGW has managed to get himself back up into the points all of a sudden. He's up into 11th place, but he's now 14.5 seconds behind Funky Chicken up the road, who's in 10th. So a long way to go for him to gain any more points. Down the pit straight we come then onto lap 28. We've got 6 laps to go in this race. Brent is tucked into the slipstream of Luke. Luke's derating a little bit. I don't think Brent's going to be close enough in towards turn 1, although he is going to look down the inside. He's going to force Luke wide through the corner. Can Brent maybe think about a move this time into turn 5 then? Luke's got to try and get back within DRS range of his teammate, which I think he doesn't do across the line. Is he going to be close enough for a move into turn 5? Is Brent? He's on his ERS once again. Luke moves to the middle of the road. Brent's going to go for the outside line on the Ferrari. He's going to try and get the better run out the corner, but Luke's going to run him out of road. Brent runs completely off the track and passes him off the track. That's an illegal move. He's going to have to give that place back.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter how slow Luke was off the corner. I think that is a naughty overtake from Brent, and he is letting Luke go. He would have been told by the game to let that place go. So we've got one Ferrari attacking, one Ferrari defending. I think to a degree both moves kind of feel inevitable, but Brendan's got, I think he's got just enough in the traction zones over Tin Can that he's holding that position. You can see Tin Can's quicker, but Brendan is quick enough that he's able to keep Tin Can behind. I don't think the same can be said for Luke keeping Brent behind though.
No, here we go then once again for between Brent and Luke. Is Brent close enough down the pit straight to get this move done? Tiaga's retired in the pit lane. He is out of proceedings. That's our second retirement of the evening. Brent then down this pit straight. Nothing this time around that Luke 05 can do. Down the inside goes Brent. He is going to get that move done in towards turn 1 on the Ferrari. And Luke and Brent then for the second week in a row looking like he could be on for a podium. A big wobble though coming out of turn 1 from the AlphaTauri. He just about holds onto the car, but he stays in 3rd position for the time being. Then Luke, can Luke get another run back down towards turn 5? He's not close enough. So Brent, for the second week running, looked like he's on for another podium. And we mentioned it earlier on, the AlphaTauris are on the up, and Brent proving it once again.
I think he's proven as well that this medium-soft strategy has just been ridiculous. I don't think it was immediately obvious, was it, in the first stint, how good it was going to be, but it's so powerful. I mean, Luke has clearly got cracking speed, but he's nowhere now on this second stint. Brendan, Tin Can and Brent have just been in a class of their own. And look how close Tin Can is through the left-hander of turn 12, 0.3 per second. This is as close as he's been through this part of that. If he takes a tighter line through 13, He just looks sharper on turning, sharper on the brakes, and I think we could see a change of the lead here. Tin Can's so much cleaner on exit. Look at the run he's got through the last corner.
Yeah, he looks so much more confident at this point in the race. Brendan already trying to break the toe to the Ferrari behind. Is Tin Can close enough for a move into turn 1? He's not using his ERS. He's in the slipstream of the Red Bull. He's going to go down the inside towards turn 1, and he's going to get the move done. Brendan decides to back out of the corner, but he'll get the switch back for turn 3. He hops over the sausage curb. He has to back out of it before he gets to turn 3. But can he get the run down towards turn 5, or can Tin Can now try and scamper off up the road? Brendan down towards turn 5 isn't going to be close enough for the move on the Ferrari, so Tin Can takes the lead of the race. Now it's all about, can Tin Can pull away? And in the past few laps we've seen Tin Can seems to be the faster of the two. If he can pull away, this will be an amazing victory for the Ferrari man. It will bring him even closer in the championship.
Yeah, it'll be what, 19 points I think, and I'm not sure who's got fastest lap here, because that could play a pivotal role coming in the season. And we've got, what's that further back? We've got J. Cole and Calvin trading places at turn 5. Calvin onto his 3rd penalty of the day. He's really racking them up. He's doing enough penalty collecting for the whole league there. But I'm interested if Brent can catch these two, because he has gained a couple of tenths this lap. I mean, Brendan's DRS is going to change that down the straight, but Brent's got a chance here. He could close in on these two, because we've not seen his pace in clean air yet.
No, we haven't seen it. Like you say, we'll see what he can do, and he really needs the front two to start battling with each other like we saw from Brendan and Carwin Robb earlier on in this race. One thing I will say about this race is out the pits comes Chill, who's made another pit stop in this race. He is now right in front of Tin Can, so that will give Tin Can DRS down towards turn 5. That will help him quite nicely. One thing I have noticed though, down that pit straight, it does look like, without using ERS, Forza Brendan, I think, does have the faster car in a straight line. It was so easy for him to close in on Tin Can down the pit straight from 0.6 of a second back, when Tin Can was just barely ahead going into turn 1 from only about 0.3 back coming out of the final corner. So if Forza Brendan can get close enough, maybe within half a second to Tin Can, Brendan does seem like he does have maybe the faster car in a straight line.
And if he gets close enough, if Tin Can has a lap like Brendan had in Sector 3, when that move happened, I think Brendan will get the move done by the time they cross the line. As you say, he has got a big advantage straight line, but you tell you what, Chill is helping Tin Can out here. He's not getting out of his way. He'll be in blue flag because Tin Can is clearly within 2 seconds of him. But Chill electing not to get out of the way. He's going to give Tin Can DRS again. And I'm sure this isn't coordinated. I'm sure they're in separate parties. But if Chill is trying to interfere here in the battle for the race victory, that's very disappointing to see. He should be getting out of the way straight away. It's unfair on Forza Brendan, if anyone, that he's being denied the chance to win this race right now.
Yeah, if that is orchestrated, then yeah, that is really unfortunate to see. But like you say, I'd be surprised if they are orchestrating this in some sort of way. Tin Can has now dropped out of DRS range to Chill at least, so that will save Brendan a bit more aggro. But yeah, Brendan now 0.6 of a second back, having to use a lot of ERS down the pit straight to try and null the effects that Tin Can was getting in the slipstream. Further down, Jaco and Calvin are still going at it further down the field. Jaco then up into 8th place, Calvin back down to 9th, and Funky Chicken right behind us. Calvin a big slide out of turn 4. Moves out of the way of Funky Chicken. I just think decided that it wasn't worth fighting that battle. Moved out of the way and nearly ran clean into the back of the Aston Martin down towards turn 5. So those medium tyres on Calvin's Red Bull look like they've run their course. 22 laps on those tyres, and he's dropped down from 10th from initially before the pit stops. He was running close to about a top 5 finish. He's now well out of contention.
I've not even noticed it. We're about to start the last lap, and Chill has spun at turn 13 there. But this is Brendan's chance now. He's 0.6 behind. It's now or never for him as we go into the last lap of this race. Tin Can flashing. He's got no errors. Brendan has got 30%. He could be deploying this. He's electing not to. I think he's going to save everything for that run to turn 5. But you can see how much he's gaining, like you said. He's not close enough into 1, but he's going to have to use everything towards 5 because that is his only shot.
Yeah, that is his only shot. He can't wait now. The final lap of the race has got to get this move done. Down towards turn 5. Can he get the run through 5 and down through 4? But again, he's not using his ERS. I think he's recognised he's not close enough in towards turn 5. I am surprised he did not use it down towards the first corner. Like you mentioned, he had so much straight line speed advantage even without using the ERS. If he dumped it all, he could have at least caused Tin Can to make a mistake at turn 1. He opted against it, and now there's no real overtaking opportunities left on the track unless Tin Can makes a mistake.
I think he's settled. I think he's settled for his lot. He's taking P2, and that's what Brendan's happy with. It's minimising his losses, and it's fair play. Carwyn Robb's down in 5th place. To only lose 7 points isn't as bad as it could be. So he's still going to have a 19-point lead going into Spa. So I can't fault him. He's playing the percentage game, and it's mostly come off for him.
Yeah, it's mostly come off, like you say. It could have been the win today, though, for Forza Brendan. It's not going to be. It's going to be Tin Can, who is going to get back onto the top step of the podium with a great strategy. Tin Can wins the Portuguese Grand Prix from Forza Brendan, and for the second week in a row, Brent finishes on the podium in the AlphaTauri. Luke, from dominating the early phases of the race, will come home a distant 4th in the Ferrari. Carwyn Robb drops behind Rikurik because of his penalty, so Carwyn Robb drops to 6th, Rikurik 5th, and Rex P7. J. Cole, a much more distant 8th, but he'll get jumped by Funky Chicken, who comes from 19th on the grid to finish in 8th position. A good comeback from the Aston Martin man, but what it could have been for him as well if he hadn't made those mistakes in qualifying. It was a great race in the end. A lot of mixed strategies, a really intriguing race. Nothing carnage or crazy about it, but a really interesting race nonetheless. And Tin Can played that one beautifully.
He absolutely did. I thought it was a cracker, and I have to say, I think all of that came down to the starting tyres. It was all about whether you went for softs or mediums. I think Luke could have won that race if he'd been on the other strategy, because it was obvious, it was abundantly obvious he had so much pace, and I feel desperately sorry for him that he wasn't able to maximise that. He deserved better than 4th, but still, you can't take it away from the leading two. They did everything they needed to do. And Brendan especially, she said he wasn't particularly happy this race, but he did a fabulous race to come home second, and he resisted Tin Can's pressure as long as he did really well to pick his way through all the various guys that were in there at one point. Rick, Carwyn, Robb, and Luke, and both guys, fabulous from both of them, and Brent deserves a huge shout out as well, as you say.
Yeah, definitely does. I feel a little bit heartbroken as well for Luke for dominating the first half of that race like he did. To not come home with a podium is a real shame, unfortunately, for the second Ferrari man. It's a 4th place finish for him, but that is the way of the strategy. It seems the strategy didn't pay off for those that started in the top 3 positions. The ones that started 1st, 2nd and 3rd ended up 4th, 5th and 6th in this race in the end. But it's Tin Can that wins from Forza Brendan and Brent, your top 3. Luke in 4th ahead of Rikurik, Carwyn Robb, Rex, Funky Chicken, J. Cole, Calvin, Darry and RJDW will round off the points finishers for this evening. Just outside of the points finishers, it's Trench and White caught up in a first lap incident. Nathan further down the field as well from a pretty good starting position. Nathan just faded in that race, unfortunately, and it didn't work out for him. Black Poma finishes in 16th position. Chill, the last of the finishers, down in 17th and a lap down as well. Tiag and Harry Nawag in the end, the only drivers to retire from that race. Both of them retiring in the pit lane after fairly disastrous races for them. And like we said, it was a really, really good race. And before we talk to our top 3 in this one, who's your driver of the day today?
You know what? I'm going to say Luke. It might be a pity driver of the day, but I don't think he did anything wrong at all this race, and somehow pole position, dominated the first half of the race, and somehow ended up 4th. And I think it's just because he picked the wrong strategy, and he necessarily wasn't to know it was the wrong strategy. So my driver of the day is Luke, but that's to take nothing away from those guys who did finish on the podium.
I might have to agree with you on that one as well. It does feel a little bit like a pity one, but he did drive a faultless race. It just wasn't the right strategy in the end, unfortunately. But either way, there's a lot of positives that Luke can take away from this one, including his raw speed in the early phases of that race. But we've got the top 2 in the party, so let's talk to our top 2 in the party and our top 2 in the championship as well. Let's start off with our race winner, Tin Can. You are back on the top step of the podium, having missed the race last time out. I think you were fairly happy with how Hungary went, despite the fact that you weren't there, and you've come back and immediately won again. How was that for you?
It was very intense. I didn't expect after qualifying to be near the podium, especially after seeing like Luke and Nat's pace in the first stint as well. I thought the best I could get maybe was P2, but I kept going and yeah, I got the win, which is desperately needed.
Yeah, desperately needed for your championship as well. We're 3rd coming into this one, and you'll jump Carwyn Robb after he finished 6th in that one. Talk us through that strategy choice then. Obviously, starting a bit further down, going for the medium compound tyres. Was that the plan from the start of qualifying? Did you always want to start on the mediums, or did you just want to try something a little bit different?
Yeah, once I knew it was raining, I think me and Jack even discussed going on mediums if it dried up at the end of qualifying, which it almost did. I just knew that at the start my temps wouldn't be good on the soft, so I was always going mediums.
Yeah, fair play for you there. And in the end, that strategy worked out brilliantly for you. Of course, you weren't the lead of the soft runners going into that final stint. That was Brendan. Talk us through that battle with Brendan in the end, because it did look like, and before you got the move done, we could definitely see on stream that you were the faster of the two. So talk us through your thought process of how you went about that battle.
I knew I had to wait a few laps because I was like, once I got past, I think Luke and Rob originally, I didn't have much ERS. So I knew if I go past, Brendan's obviously going to try and attack me back, which, because of how easy the ERS is, I knew that was going to happen. So I saved up and then got the move done, and then luckily Chill came out of the pits as well, which gave me DRS for a lap as well.
Yeah, you might have to buy Chill a drink after that one, because it did help you out massively in the end. Jake, have you got anything you'd like to add?
Well, similar to what I'm going to ask Brendan, but did you expect a bigger assault from Brendan when you overtook him? Did you think there was a chance that you might have miscalculated, that you made the move too early and he was going to come straight back at you?
In a sense, no. I felt like my soft pace felt really good, so I knew I could. If I kept the gap around 6 tenths, I knew I could defend on the straight. So, I knew if he got close, I was a bit screwed, to be honest. But yeah, I'm glad that we all kept it clean as well, though, because it could have ended in tears.
Yeah, definitely could. It was a great race from you in the end, and looking forward in the championship now. I believe the next round of the championship, I believe, is at Spa in Belgium for round 11. How are you feeling about Spa? I think I kind of know what your thoughts are about Spa, but how are you feeling?
Well, this time I won't probably have you to follow around, so it may be a bit more difficult, but I'm not looking forward to it really. It's a nice track, but I've never been that quick there, so I've just got to try and get as much points as I can either way.
Either way, yeah, looking forward then to the next round of the championship. Congrats on another win this season. Thank you for joining us in the party as well. And we're going to move on to our championship leader and our second place finish in the end. It's somewhat of a bounce back from Budapest, but not quite the win in the end there for you, Brendan. How was that one for you?
Yeah, I feel great, to be honest. Like a bounce back is a bounce back. I will take that one any day, to be honest, because I just was... Yeah, I was kind of in a low place last week. I wasn't really quite sure if I was enjoying myself overall, because I was just putting a lot of pressure on myself. Because I was coming in with the expectation, every race, that I was going to win it. And, I definitely could have won those two races, but, obviously, it's an even playing ground. Everyone follows the same rules, and that's just something I had to kind of, I guess, just try to evaluate this week. And to me, I'd never driven on this track until this week. And I done my first laps, I think on Monday night, and I was pretty terrible, but I just kept trying to work at it, and yeah, I don't know, I just came in and I just was even saying to Calvin, I just was like, I don't really care what happens, I just kind of want to enjoy this race, and I did. It was obviously obviously I want to win, but I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It was a really, really great battle with Tin Can. It was just a lot of fun, and to me, just that's what it's all about. That was just exactly what I needed, even if it is second place, and even if I lose points in the championship. Yeah, I don't know. That would be enough to ignite a fire under anyone's belly. That was a lot of fun.
Well, it's good to hear that was a lot of fun as well. And another battle in that race that I think was great fun for us, at least, to watch was your lovely side by side lap with Carl and Rob. Talk us through that. That was brilliant to watch, and great racing between the pair of you.
Yeah, it was probably borderline. I mean, it's always difficult when you're racing against other people. It's just always hard to judge what you're going to do, and kind of it happened to me in Hungary. When you're expecting one thing to actually happen, and then another thing can just happen all of a sudden, so it can catch you out. But it was so weird. When I was racing him, I think it was going into the downhill right-hander. My hands got numb, and I was like, "Why are my hands numb? Oh my god!" I was actually shaking throughout it, because I just was kind of "Oh my god!" This is either going to be a make or break moment. But I kind of just went into it going, as long as I just leave the space, that's all I want to do. But that was the biggest, that was the strangest part. My hands just went numb, and I just was like, this is not good. They calmed down after we got onto the pit straight, but it was just intense. Like I need to watch the replay back. I definitely hope it was fair racing on my part as well, because I just obviously don't want to be like a dirty driver or anything like that. So I hope it was good, but just obviously respect obviously to Carwin. He is a great racer, and definitely I've had a lot of good battles with him this season. So it was a lot of fun to actually go at it with him again.
Yeah, it was great fun to watch as well, and I think Jake will probably agree with me as well and say that it was definitely a nice clean battle on both parts. It was really really great fun to watch. So you didn't end up winning the race, unfortunately. In the end, like you say, it was still a fun race for you. We saw in the last few laps of the race you had a bit more ERS in your back pocket than Tinkan did. Was it just you kind of settling for second place and not wanting to risk going for the move that paid to you winning this race, or did you think you maybe didn't have the pace to win it?
Yeah, it was strange. Like obviously when he made the move into turn one, like that was me. I just did not want to risk anything, because to me I was just trying to match what he was doing on track, and I kind of figured that that was his plan as well, basically to save ERS, whether he was behind or in front. So I was a little bit caught out actually at the end when his red light was flashing the whole lap at the final lap, and I just kind of went, "Oh God, this is." I didn't see it coming, because if I'd have known that was going to happen, I would have made the move the lap before. So it was obviously a difficult one in the end. Like my kind of plan was, yeah, like I can get him on the back straight, but I don't know. It just wasn't long enough, even though it is a really long end of the track. That kind of bend just kind of takes it out of the momentum. It kind of kills your speed a little bit, I think. And yeah, like I don't know. Like it was obviously just one of those things. Like it's like either you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I obviously can't really see his ERS. So like obviously, yeah, I think if I'd have known in hindsight, I definitely would have made the move probably a lap earlier. Rather than try to go in the final lap. But yeah, it's a tricky one. But either way, I think he made the move into turn one. Like I obviously was like, if I turn in, it's going to be an airplane crash. So he was the one that made it, and he got the win. So that's kind of the main thing at the end of the day. I just couldn't do it. So that's probably it. Like.
Fair play, and it's still a second place finish at the end of the day. It's still great for your championship. Jake, have you got anything you'd like to add?
Oh, I was going to ask the same as you just said. Why on earth didn't you dump your ERS down the main straight on the second to last lap? Because you had about 40% and you weren't going to use it anywhere else. So I was just like, go for it, unload it. And if you don't get close enough, don't go for it. But I was a bit disappointed there. But I was going to say about your battle with Carl and Rob as well. I found that very interesting because you described that as a make or break moment. I said on stream, I thought that was jolly good fun though it was to watch. It was completely pointless because Carmen Rob was about to come into the pits anyway, and you had much fresher tyres at the end. So, did that really feel make or break to you?
I just felt like if I couldn't get past him, like he was probably trying to hold me up or something. That was my thinking. Obviously, like it's kind of easy. Like obviously, like I always do the same. Like when I look back at the races, I always go like, like why didn't I do this here? Why didn't like do that there? Like I don't know. In the moment, like I've obviously never driven on this track before, so race experience was something I didn't really like. Obviously, haven't had much of. Like, and I'd say that's the same with anybody. So I didn't really know maybe what to do every lap. Let's say. I just was trying to just drive with what was in front of me. Really, I don't know. Like Carwin was obviously really quick on the soft tires, even towards the end. So it was really tricky to get past him. Like it was kind of a funny one, but yeah, I don't know. Like these moments, I think are, yeah, like I don't know. Like if I don't make a move, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that. It's just kind of one of those things. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, you can only react to what's in front of you. So next time I'll try and make sure it doesn't happen again. So.
Well, thank you for joining us in the party
Cool.
as well for this one. Congrats on another podium this season as well, and
Cheers.
continuing to hold the championship lead going into round 11. Brent will not be joining us in the party, so we won't be able to speak to our third place finisher in this race. So that is where we're going to finish off the stream today, guys. Jake, have you got anything you'd like to add?
No, just as always, thanks you D3 for another fabulous race. Thank you everyone who tuned in, who will tune in. And more on the same next week because we're on a run of some absolute cracking races right now. So I'm sure Belgium will throw up some more similar spice.
Yep, definitely does. It always does. So hopefully we see the same next time out. Thank you to everyone that joined the stream. Obviously, tune in to League Racing, to League of Europe's YouTube channel in about 10 minutes' time for D2 and D5, and you can go back and watch this stream and Division 1 and Division 4 as well. Well, from now on, pretty much, you can go back and watch those streams. So thank you to everybody for joining us, and we will see you next week for round 11 at Spa. Thank you very much, and goodbye.